G'day Super Coaches and welcome back to my next video. In today's video I'll be going through the standouts, the not so sures and the POD picks from the round 1 JLT series that we witnessed on the weekend. We'll go straight to the Bulldogs game with Jack Macrae. Coming in at 650,000, Macrae was awesome. He scored 158 Supercoach points and he had 39 disposals, which is mammoth. Now they were up against a Demons midfield that wasn't at full strength without Oliver and Viney and a few other names. It just showcases how good Macrae is. He can win the ball on the inside, he can win it on the outside, and his midfield spot isn't in any jeopardy at all. So make sure that he's a lock in your squad. Next up, we'll talk about Josh Dunkley. Dunkley scored 170 Supercoach points off 32 disposals, with 20 of them being contested. He is the best contested ball winner at the Bulldogs, period. He is the guy you want in and under, collecting the ground balls and then releasing it by hand to the outside to players such as Bontempelli and Macrae. He will spend some time forward, but only when he's resting. He will be a genuine inside contested bull this year and he would be the #1 scoring forward. There's no question about it. His ceiling is incredibly high. And that leads us to Marcus Bontempelli, who had 32 disposals, 3 goals and 198 Supercoach points. He continued his strong form from his second half of last year and he looks to be a very solid pick. Bontempelli was only in 7% of teams before he played yesterday and now he's currently up to 14% teams. He's 623,000, but he's worth every single dollar. I had him all last year, and even though he started slow, he still ended up as one of the highest scoring mids for the year. He's an absolute gun and he's a quality pick, and if you're looking for a little bit of a point of difference, even though 14% is no longer a point of difference, but it is a lot lower than some other midfields available, then pick Bontempelli. If there weren't any buy rounds, I'd probably start with Macrae, Bontempelli and Dunkley and maybe a little Bulldogs player in the back line as well. Because of the buy rounds, I think I'll have to stick with only 2 Bulldogs players for now, that being Macrae and Dunkley. A few other standouts that I have in my team here was Zach Merrett at 620,000. He had 37 disposals and scored 126 Supercoach points. He looks in great nick this year and he will win a lot of the peel, especially with those quarters going back to 20 minutes long. He will benefit pretty strongly from that. We also have Rory Laird, who had 25 touches and 10 tackles playing as an inside midfielder on the weekend. He only finished with the 99 Supercoach points, but that would still make him a top 6 defender anyway, and I can see him averaging a bit more than that. So he was really good as well, and it looks like that most people have him in his teams with the high ownership that he has at the moment. Next up, we'll talk about Zach Butters. Butters was only in 2% of teams, if that. I can't remember quite the exact number. A few weeks ago when I made the video about him being the best point of difference player for the year, or one of the best. He had 24 touches, 10 marks and hit the scoreboard with 1 goal, finishing with 127 Supercoach points. He's all class, he's great decision maker, has awesome vision and he's really damaging forward to centre. He also had a few centre bounce attendances as well, which is good to see. I see him being the biggest improver in the forward line still. He's in 6% of teams now, so he's still pretty low ownership. I'm glad he's not playing another week or two, because then that would probably skyrocket a bit more. But Butters is a quality pick and I still stand by that. Jack Steele was also fantastic on the weekend. 658,000. He is very expensive after averaging 120 last year, but he had 27 touches, 6 tackles, and he scored just over 101 Supercoach points. And look, he wasn't particularly damaging. He didn't do too much. He took a few marks there, a few little side kicks in the back line that elevated his scoring, but it goes to show that he doesn't really need to have a real impact on the contest to score hundreds. When he's up and about and he has really strong games, he will score you 150s and 160s like he showed us last year. But I can see him averaging 110 to 115 pretty comfortably, I think. I've just put him back in my squad for now and I look forward to what Steele provides us this year. Now we have a little halfback flanker from the Richmond Tigers whose ownership has skyrocketed over the last 3 days, understandably I suppose. Jayden Short, 43 touches, 12 marks and 163 Supercoach points. He's now in 16% of teams, good price at around 515,000. He's going to be the main ball user coming out of the back line there for the Tigers this year, with no Basher Hooley as well. I can now see him getting a lot more attention and possibly being tagged by opposition players. He was extremely damaging by foot and he loves to kick it. So he's the setup man from the back half and I can see people really trying to lock him down throughout the year. I still think he's a really good pick. He will finish as a top 6 defender, but I just wish he didn't have that 16% ownership. I'm probably not starting him just yet, but at his price I might have to if I'm struggling to fill premiums on other lines. Luke Davies-Uniacke. He had 21 touches, kicked a goal and scored 122 Supercoach points. He was North's best midfielder by a mile on the weekend, and he showed us that he's really ready to explode onto the scene this year. He's beefed up around the upper body, he's gotten a lot fitter, and he looks to be not as scared when attacking the contest. Feel like he's got the confidence in his body and his ability to really do some damage this year. He's at a good price. If you're looking for someone around 440, I believe he is, to save some cash, then he's probably a really good pick. Another standout was Tommy Stewart. He had 29 disposals, 133 Supercoach points, just doing what he does best. Taking marks, setting up the Geelong's play through the midfield from the back half. He's reliable, he's consistent, he's durable. He's a very solid pick in the back line. A couple other names here is Fife. He had 27 disposals and kicked a goal and scored 130 Supercoach points. People have been saying that Sarong and Chera and Brayshaw and Valenti were going to take his spot, but Fife is an extremely damaging player in the midfield, and I just don't see why they'll probably play him predominantly forward. He's a real good stoppage player. He wins a lot of clearances and he's a good contested ball winner as well. So he's probably the best at doing that at Fremantle, and I can see him playing midfield predominantly this year, not forward. The only question mark with him is his durability. He probably won't play enough games and I can't risk starting him, but he'll average around the 110 to 115 again this year. Taranto too has been a pretty popular pick by a lot of super coaches. 31 disposals, 1 goal and 106 Supercoach points. He does butcher the ball a bit. I think he's more suited to Dream Team than he is Supercoach. He had 127 Dream Team, which is pretty large. So I'll probably be steering clear of Taranto, although I do think he's a better pick than Coniglio, but not quite as good as Kelly. But he is at a better price. So I can see why people are picking Taranto. Now, if we head to the not so sure list anymore, it's headlined by Patrick Cripps. I had him in my squad before he played on the weekend, and he was pretty poor. I don't know if he was trying very hard or if he was just trying to get through the match unscathed. He had 18 touches and scored 69 Supercoach points. I don't think the new rules are going to help him. He's got a turning circle of a bloody train. So, no good. Yeah, his best position is inside midfielder where he wins a contested ball, but if it's going to be more free-flowing football, then I think that's going to affect him. He doesn't have big tank and he doesn't have the speed to really hurt you on the outside, and his foot skills are questionable at best. So, steer clear of him for now and see how he goes in the early parts of the season. If it looks like he's going to get back to his 115 average, then I will consider halfway through the year for an upgrade. Lukey McDonald. Been raving about him for the last few weeks, and he kicked me right up the backside. 24 disposals for only 46 Supercoach points. I think he had like 10 clangers or something like that, which is far too many. He was taking the kickings, but so was Aiden Core and so is Jack Siebel, because he is a good long kick of the football. I think McDonald will bounce back. There's just so much uncertainty with him, and I don't think I can risk him going into round one. So I've taken him out. He's been replaced by a Fremantle defender of Luke Ryan for now, but we'll see. Things may change within the next couple of weeks. We've also got Sam Walsh here, who had 25 touches and only scored 61 Supercoach points. That's a lot of touches for not much reward. I do think he's a better pick than Patrick Cripps, but maybe we were expecting too much from Walsh to average at 110. Maybe we'll get to 100 to 105, but he's a risky pick, so I can't really justify myself picking him, so I'll leave him out for now. Jack Siebel, 23 touches, 107 Supercoach points, playing off half-back or in the back pocket. If you just look at his statistics, it's pretty good. 107 Supercoach points for a player that's 250,000, you can say lock him in straight away. But he was really exposed defensively and he got beaten a lot of times. I don't know if he can drop the captain or not, but I don't know how that experiment's going to go with him in the back line. If he's there round one and I'm short of rookie options in the forward line, then I think we have to pick him. Now we'll talk about the done enough players that I do have in my squad who weren't really impressive but did enough in the end for me to pick them. So Lachie Neale had 25 disposals and 101 Supercoach points. At 721,000, that's probably not enough for 100 Supercoach points. I think he was mainly in second gear the majority of the game. I think he had 13 disposals in the third quarter, and that's probably when he turned it up a bit. He's no risk at all. I hope more people jump off him from that performance, but I'll definitely be starting him as my number one midfielder. Max Gawn, he had 11 disposals, 32 hitouts, 102 Supercoach points. You probably expected more from him at 751,000 as well, but he did have 4 free kicks against, which did hinder his score. There's no concerns whatsoever for Gawn. Grundy and Gawn still the way to go, I believe, and there will be no change in that for me anytime soon. So that will lead us to Brodie Grundy, who had 17 disposals, 26 hitouts, and 118 Supercoach points, which is a really good showing from him. We can expect him to score around 120 this year, and he's firmly locked as my second ruckman this season. And Sam Doherty from the Carlton Blues as well. 27 disposals, 21 of them being kicks, but only for 76 Supercoach points. That is a little concerning, but he was the main ball user out of defence. His foot skills were a little off, which is why his score was quite low, but it looks to me that he's still going to be the main ball user heading out of that back 50, and I like that. So he's going to win a lot of the ball, and he's going to use it by foot a lot. Just have to make sure his disposal efficiency stays relatively high. He is a good pick at his price, and I'll pat a lot of people on the back who do start with him. A little risky, but he's got a lot of upside with him. And now to the point of difference players that I had in my previous videos, where I had Jed Anderson, who didn't play, so I can't really talk much about him. Tommy Liberatore, 140 Supercoach points from 31 disposals and 7 tackles. Spent his time between the midfield and forward line, which I believe that's what he'll do when Treloar comes as well. But he's just a ball winner. He just finds it, and he loves to tackle, and he wins a lot of contested ball. You probably can't start him because of McRae and Bontempelli are in the same position and are better picks. But if you don't have either of those two, and you're looking for a player around Liberatore's price, then he is going to be the one. I can see him averaging close to 110 this year. Trick Miller, 30 disposals for only 91 Supercoach points. He was good though. He really headlines that Suns midfield, and I do think he's probably a better pick than Matty Rao. Dane Rampy, he had 10 disposals for only 36 points. Not much to say there. Second gear, probably didn't try too hard. Jack Crisp, 133 Supercoach points for Collingwood. He is the ball user rebounding outside the back 50. Him and Maynard, who scored 107 Supercoach points, mind you. His kicking looked to have improved from previous years. He was a good pick last year and finished in the top 10 defenders, and I can see him doing the same this year, so he is a good pick. Definitely a point of difference player. And Jordan Ridley just left off where he finished last year, 110 Supercoach points. I can see him finish as a top 10 to top 6 defender as well, and he is a good pick. And finally, just for 3 mid-prices to finish off, we had Jai Caldwell. He scored 87 Supercoach points at around 350,000. I can see why people start him. I probably prefer Tommy Green, who had 22 disposals and a goal and scored 85 Supercoach points. He looks really good, although he is competing with Hopper and Perryman, Coniglio and Taranto and Kelly in that midfield. I do think he will be a better scorer because he's just a contested bull. And Tommy Phillips had 134 Supercoach points for Hawthorn. Now Hawthorn didn't have O'Meara or Mitchell playing. That will impact Phillips a little bit, but that's a good showing from Phillips, and at his price point, I think we can start him if we want. Score 130s consistently like he did in the weekend, but I can see him being a 90s average player. High 90s, mind you. And that's about it for what I saw now. There are plenty of other standout players and plenty of other not so sure or do not touch players as well, but that's just the players that caught my eye for now. I have made a few changes to my squad, which I'll be releasing a video soon on what those changes are. But for now, those were the standouts, the not so sures, and the POD players that impressed me on the weekend. We hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.